Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of February 10th to February 16th. We're going into a hellacious week, babies. I'm going to warn you from that from the beginning. But before we do any type of breakdown and understanding of that, I want to remind everybody that my one-on-one readings are on special for the month of February. Now, you go to the website www.thespirituallyboujee.com. You can see that right here. Go to the little menu area, astrological services, and the very first one-on-one coaching sessions through the month of February are on special. A one-on-one with me for an hour is $35. A one-on-one with me for 90 minutes is going to be $50. So again, those have been heavily discounted. I don't care if we meet in February, it can be March, it can be April. You have the ability on the website to provide your chart info and pick a date and time that's going to work best for you. All you have to do is sign in and get it all done. So, wanted to remind everybody that the readings are on special. Now, let's get into this week because it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a doozy. But for a lot of people, whatever starts to be the doozy of this week, there's something about the previous week, what just occurred in the spark, that is going to either humble a lot of people or it is going to boost the confidence of a lot of people. But a lot of this energy is talking about the ego. The primary reason we're going to focus on the ego this week is because right smack dab in the middle of the week, we have a full moon in Leo. Now, all of this week is going to encompass that full moon energy. At the very start of the week, the moon is going to go into Leo. It will build to a full moon that will not perfect until Wednesday. And immediately after the full moon is done, the moon is going to move into Virgo, and it is going to start forcing us to make decisions, take on considerations, rework, revise, restructure, and plan for the things that will change throughout eclipse season. And eclipse season doesn't start until March. But it is the vibration and the checks of this week, whether it's a good check or a bad check, that's all based off individual. It is going to make us check ourselves and understand where we need to shift, flex, alter, maneuver, where there will be necessary changes throughout the month of March. But Dusty, we still have like 2 weeks of February left. I know, but I meditated on this for a couple of days before I recorded this. And everything speaks to ignition, awareness, and different ideas and different focus of how we need to force something to come through. But for the majority of the people, it will not just come through in one moment. And for a lot of people, whatever just occurred this last week between Venus going into Aries for some, for others, that Mercury Cazimi that happened over the weekend, the trine between Saturn and Mars that happened over the weekend. For a lot of people, there was some type of forced action that had clarity, that had some kind of notice, that had some type of information. And there was a lot of irritability around it. And the reason there was so much irritability around some of it, it had to do with the fact that people were not prepared to be told, baby, you're wrong. What? I can't be wrong. I filed this correctly. I did all the paperwork correctly. I did this. I did it. I know I did it. I did it correctly because I did it. Check your ego. An outside perspective can come through and tell you you're wrong, whether you like it or not. You can be wrong. Based off of the energy that just occurred this previous week, it is going to set the stage for a lot of the checks that come through this week. But for other people, it's not going to be negative. And whatever came through in that Mercury Cazimi, and that Mercury Cazimi happening in Aquarius, in Saturn sign, simultaneous to that Mars Saturn trine, a lot of the things that were in that vibration had some level of disruption tied to it. Now, for some of us, the disruption wasn't our own, it was other people. And other people acting foolish, other people acting crazy, other people not having control of their emotions. Now, why do I say it that way? Because again, Mars is retrograde in Cancer, and there's a big pocket of you guys that you still do not have control of your emotions. And you have let this energy grab you, and you are looking for more and more things to disrupt your emotions. And as you've taken said disruption and you've put it onto someone else's plate, brought your issues to someone going, oh my God, you dealt with the Saturnian person looking at that and looking at you, and in some ways feeling judged. There was judgment. Now, the way I described that particular energy for a lot of people last week was, as we got into the weekend, some of us would be the Saturnian person, having someone come back around, and whatever disruption they are going through, we tell them, you have to stop. This has to change. This cannot continue. This isn't right. But as we go into this week, what's going to happen is Mars, having just had that check in the energy, that spark, that awareness, Mars is going to start to station this week. He's going to hit the 17-degree mark this week. And that is where he is going to be until eclipse season. Oh, you see another tie there? You see another tie in the energy? Yeah. Uranus is in an area of the sky where he has been spinning for quite some time. Jupiter just turned direct, and he is in an area of the sky where he has been spinning and trying to get something handled, trying to get something turned around, both of them. And as we go into this week and the dynamics of this week, there is going to be something that humbles a lot of people and forces them to make actions and adjustment to turn something around. But the turnaround will not necessarily be this week. For a lot of people, they will not check themselves until they get smacked in the head, until they've had that punch to the gut, until they've been served with those papers to humble them. For some of you, the human effect is you just got served papers. For others, filing's about to happen. And a part of this week will be something tied to it. But there is a definite check to our egos, positive and negative, when it comes to this week. Now, for some people, it is not a negative one, and it can be positive. And there can be something coming to terms, some things finally getting set, appointments getting made, the right connections, the right appointments, the right meetings, the right shaking of hands and kissing of babies, like the right thing just finally lined up. And now, once that we've got that connection made, even though it's been temporary energy, we've made that connection. It's like, great, confirmed, set in stone, we're good. Next thing we have to do is get to the next point. Now, for a lot of us, what that's going to come down to is you've made the right connections. You're waiting for the job offer, using this as an example. You get the job offer, you sign on the dotted line, woohoo, yeah, start telling some people, but you're not starting immediately. And everything between now and, let's just say, the 1st of March, just because I like flat numbers, and that's also when Venus retrograde will start. So there's elements that can connect to that too. We'll be preparing, turning something around, changing something in our vibration by choice. By choice. It doesn't always have to be negative. It's still coming down to how we let this energy impact us and whether we focus on the negatives, take everything as a negative, or if we start learning to flow with this energy and turn it more into a positive. Now, for some of us, whatever came through this last week has created hesitancy. And if you are suddenly going into this week with a new hesitancy in your vibration, I don't know if I want to do this deal. I don't know if I trust these people. I don't know that I want to do this thing. Hands off. Just trust me on that. Hands off for the time being. Meditate, get more clear. But again, take a look at what's about to happen. Because for some people, whatever is going to happen in your surroundings is going to show you why your body was suddenly hesitating, and it is going to show you where there has been disruption in an area that you have not been able to focus on quite yet. So if we're in a period of hesitancy, I am not surprised, because some of you, there is some hesitancy. And again, while Mars is stationing, slowing down at his stationing point to turn direct, and he's not going to turn direct again until the 23rd. So he's going to be spinning in the same spot for a while. Jupiter, again, spinning in the same spot. Uranus has been spinning in the same spot. We have a lot of things that speak to spinning, and I take spinning and I compare, I turn it into stewing. The way that it tends to manifest in us is like we're stewing. And the problem with stewing is a lot of times stewing turns into impatience. And there can be elements that speak to impatience as we go into this week. So let's take a look at the week. Let's take a look at the transits, and let's talk about it a little bit more. All right. Monday, February 10th. Now, the moon is going to be in Cancer until about 11 a.m., but we have one transit that's going to happen before the moon leaves the sign of Cancer, and that is the trine between Neptune. I got Neptune 28 degrees, 15 minutes, and the moon. At this point, the moon is at 28 degrees, 4 minutes. For those that are listening to audio only, there is a trine. Now, anytime Neptune is real heavily involved, it is distractive energy. We've all been dealing with major levels of distractive energy, of not wanting to be focused, of not focusing on things. Our mind goes off into the clouds. And that has a lot to do with the fact that Neptune has been conjunct the North Node for all of these weeks. You heard me last week. I'm sick of this transit. I want something else to happen now because it has been so distracted. When Neptune hits the trine to the moon, something about this feels like something not being seen correctly, levels of confusion, dragging. You know, those mornings, and this is a cliche Monday morning. This is going to be the Monday morning after Super Bowl Sunday. Everybody's dragging. They put all their energy into Sunday, hooting and hollering, and all of a sudden you go into work, you have no voice. Nothing's popping off. Nothing's happening real quick. And there are elements that speak to just confusion, again, dragging, not being completely clear, and not everybody all being able to click. Like things aren't clicking, so to speak. And for a lot of people, again, we had a Mercury cazimi over the course of the weekend. Whenever we're looking right now at the chart, Mercury and the sun are still at the 22-degree mark. They're still in a conjunction. So even when you go into work on Monday, if you didn't have the cazimi clarity, information, revealing type of thing over the weekend, for some of you, it's going to be a blindsiding revealing that happens over the course of Monday. And that speaks through this volume. This speaks through this transit. So if we didn't have that weird clarity thing, having something get revealed, or you can have a lingering effect of additional things getting revealed, but it's more like figuring out the revealing that have impacted other people. At 11:01 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Leo. And as I said in the intro, whenever the moon goes into Leo, we're going to be in the full moon energy the entire time the moon is in Leo. Now, the moon in Leo will not perfect into an actual full moon until Wednesday. But once the moon goes into Leo, we're in full moon vibration. And I want to be absolutely clear about that. Sometimes I'll say that and I don't necessarily like take the screen off. Like I leave the chart up and I start to explain this and people don't always comprehend what I'm telling them. I'm making a little bit of an adjustment. We're going to play this episode. This is one of those plays. Once the moon goes into Leo, we are in full moon vibration. That means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we are dealing with that full moon energy. Full moons are completions. They are level up, but this is a full moon in Leo. And there can be a bit of an ego check tied to other people because the sun is in its detriment in Aquarius. Going back to what I was saying before, all these planets in their detriment, it requires work. Things are not going to be easy. And because something has not been easy, there is, again, something that speaks to checking the ego. Whether that is a confidence boost check or a you were wrong, whether you like it or not check, that begs to differ. It's going to be different for everybody. But we're in this vibration as soon as the moon goes into Leo. Now, Mercury is going to hit its exact square to Uranus between 1:15 and 1:27 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got the screen out at 1:30. Got Mercury 23 degrees, 19 minutes. Here's that square to Uranus, 23 degrees, 18 minutes. Now, this is just when this is the most exact. We're in this vibration all day long. And again, we just had a Mercury Cazimi. There is something about the clarity, the information, the communication, whatever's come to light, whatever's been revealed, that when it starts to impact the other people, there is shock. There are things that are going to be unexpected. Unexpected news, unexpected decisions, unexpected communication. That can be a communication from someone else. That can be something that is in writing. That can be something that is over the internet. Unexpected communication. I want people to expect the unexpected when it comes to vibration around this full moon. And again, it speaks to those layers and those levels of that ego check or the ego boost, depending on what we're dealing with. Okay. I do feel like for some people, though, with a Mercury Uranus square, that there can be these elements that kind of be more of a negative check. And that's because right after this goes exact, the moon is going to hit its opposition to Pluto. Now, the moon-Pluto opposition goes the most exact between 2:30 and 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right now on the screen, I got the moon 2 degrees, 26 minutes, opposite Pluto at 2 degrees, 21 minutes. So we're very much at the exact right here. Like building up to right around 3:30 is whenever it's going to go exact. Whenever it comes to this vibration, and again, we're in those squares to Uranus, the full moon itself will actually be in the square to Uranus. So the shock, the unexpected waves that continue to come through, they can trigger fear. They can trigger frustration. They can trigger attitudes and people not wanting to accept certain things and being angry. And you can be angry at very much specifically at people in positions of power and people that are abusing power. Now, that's the negative impact. Positive impacts would be like seeing a new version of someone, how much someone has changed, how much someone has transformed, how much something has transformed. Look at all of this work that we've done to this beautiful house. Look at all of the upgrades. Look at this new interior. Look at this restored flooring. Look at this thing that we have changed, that we have transformed. Again, this does not have to be negative. For some people, this will feel negative. For other people, this one will feel amazing. It's going to come down to personal experience. I want people to be prepared for both. Okay. Whenever the moon hits the opposition of Pluto, again, it's felt the most exact between 2:30 and 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then after that, the next thing that's going to happen is Venus is going to hit a trine to the moon. That is felt the most exact between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. So I got this at 7:30 on the screen. Here is Venus, 4 degrees, 32 minutes, going into a trine with the moon. The moon is at 4 degrees and 37 minutes. Venus has had a few days in Aries. But Venus is also in Mars' sign. And Mars has just had something that has kind of been a shock to the system. Again, as we go deeper into this week, Mars will hit the 17-degree mark, and that's where he's going to be basically until the start of eclipse season. And a lot of this vibration is the initiating energy that is going to set the stage for where we will have changes going into eclipse season. We're not there yet, but we're starting to understand certain things are going to require an adjustment. They're going to require a change. Now, Venus being in this Mars ruled sign can be a little bit more inspirational. It can be talking about the actions that we take in regards to the appearance, how something looks, how something tastes, what we can do to adjust it, what we can do to sharpen it, what we can do to change it. This is not a negative impression. And for a lot of people, Venus's vibration here gives aid. Like, I can see the progress that you're making. I can see how well you've been doing. I can see all the work that you've done. It's going to be okay. So when Venus's energy enters here, this has a little bit more of a positive effect. So if we do have something that triggers in the mid-afternoon when the Moon-Pluto opposition hits, Venus can be that blessing that comes through going, hey, you shouldn't let them get underneath your skin. It's going to be okay. I got your back. We'll be able to make an adjustment. They just need to have some time to think about it. They just need to wrap their head around it. It's going to be okay. Now, sometimes people really need to hear that over and over again. So again, it's going to be okay. Moving along. When it comes to Monday, there are no more direct transits to Monday. So we're going to go ahead and get into Tuesday. Tuesday's not that heavy, but we are still building into the full moon. So there can be some things that kind of hit the system. There can be some lingering effects from the weekend that still kind of play into it. Whenever we get to the early morning time between 7 and 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I got the screen at February 11th, 7:30 a.m. I've got Jupiter 11 degrees, 21 minutes, hitting a sextile to the moon at 11 degrees and 6 minutes. So you can see this right here. Again, this is not heavy energy. This is the doctor, the guru, the teacher, Jupiter's energy is all of that. Giving aid, giving ideas, presenting communication, presenting forethought, giving a different impression. And I want to stay clear about that. Giving a different impression. Jupiter is in Mercury sign. We just had a Mercury Cazimi over the weekend. But sometimes after something happens, the longer we think about it, the more we can troubleshoot it in our own mind and we can come up with alternatives. We can look at different solutions. Jupiter in this sextile to the moon is doing just that. It's offering a solution. It's trying to give additional ideas. It's giving additional guidance. Some of us, we will be the Jupiter person. Some of us, we will be the moon person. We need the guidance. That would be the moon person. Jupiter is giving the guidance. So be prepared to be either one. Giving the guidance, giving the clarity, giving the go-ahead, giving ideas, giving information, giving an impression of what we can do moving forward, because this is still a newly direct Jupiter. Okay. As we get into the afternoon, between 1:16 and 1:39 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm bumping the screen to 1:30, this is when the sun will have its exact square with Uranus. So this is exactly 24 hours after the Mercury square. This is about 48 hours after the Mercury Cazimi, because the Mercury Cazimi was on Sunday. As the sun comes in, and putting into perspective, the moon is in the sun sign. A lot of the vibration can be giving additional light to the news that came through the day before, additional perspective to the news that came through the day before. There's something about whenever Mercury hit the square to Uranus that a lot of people had more of an unexpected wave of communication, but because it was so unexpected and the moon was hitting that opposition to Pluto, that it had instigated a level of fear. It's like, again, after we've had some more time to think about it, talk about it, look, review, whatever, it gives an additional perspective. Now the sun is in Uranus' sign. So there is something here that speaks to understanding the perspective of another. And this speaks to, again, additional layers to what has just occurred over the last few days. And it is leaning into more of, again, that boost in the ego or the confidence build, or it's going to be that negative side. It is the check to the ego. It is telling someone, I've looked at the things that you did, Uranus looking at the sun in Uranus's sign, and I am telling you, you're wrong. I've seen it from both perspectives. I understand. And you don't want to hear this right now because anytime we start talking about fixed signs, we can start talking about being really, really stubborn. But for us to move forward from here, we're going to have to make an alteration. We're going to have to make a change. Now, most likely that change is not going to get received well. And as the evening progresses, that speaks volumes even more and more. And I want to take this now into the evening time. There isn't a direct transit. In fact, it's an indirect transit, but I specifically stopped whenever I was looking at this part because I could feel how frustrated some people are going to be when I was meditating on this part. So I've got the screen now at 9:30. Now what I'm looking at is I've got the moon 18 degrees 35 minutes going into a quincunx with Saturn. Indirect, not seeing eye to eye, not wanting to believe, not wanting to focus, not wanting to accept that something is going to be forced to change. And whatever it is, it's looking at something that's been there for a long period of time and understanding that the old way, the old dynamic cannot continue. And not everybody's going to jump on board with that at the same time. And I felt like after the sun square to Uranus and as the day kind of continued throughout Tuesday, again, we have that stewing effect. And now I want to remind everybody, Mars has now hit the 17-degree mark. So we have more planets at their stationing point, which I also like to call, for layman's terms, a stewing point. We get to spinning. We're at parts of the energy that speaks to not wanting to believe the other side. Having so much recently revealed, suddenly feeling like we can't trust the other side. The moon going through the quincunx with Saturn and the fact that the Mercury Cazimi was in Aquarius, which is Saturn is the traditional ruler of, having so many other things that have recently impacted Saturn, and knowing that Saturn is getting very, very close to falling, passing his point of shadow. This isn't new vibration when it comes to Saturn. It's old vibration. But it's like so much of the old has come through that's making us realize that we don't believe, that we don't support, that we're not seeing eye to eye with someone, and it is going to have an unexpected vibration that is going to follow. Now, the human effect is the unexpected shit can hit here. It does not have to directly be during the full moon that's going to happen on the 12th, but we're in it no matter what. Okay. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is going to start between 11 p.m. on the 11th, and it's going to take us into the 12th. So I've got right now the screen at February 11th, 11:30 p.m. And what I have is Chiron going through a trine with the moon. Trines are triangles. Fire to fire. The sun is not happy. Just having had some kind of ego check. Chiron is in Mars' sign, and Mars again has hit this stewing point. It's at this point of hesitancy. It's at this point of aggression. It's at this point of not believing, of not seeing, of not recognizing, of feeling stuck. In a lot of ways, it can be a new stuck, even if it's an old situation, but there's a restlessness in the vibration. When Chiron hits the trine to the moon, we can think of those last ditch efforts of like, well, I can try this and that'll fix it. Well, we can just, jack it up and put a tire on it from another vehicle. That other vehicle that we have, the tire size doesn't match. We're going to try it anyways. We're going to try it anyways. We're going to make last ditch efforts to fix something. And a lot of people will be very aggressive, like, oh, we're just going to do it this way. Other people will not necessarily do that. It will be realizing that something needs to get fixed, but not having an immediate idea of what that fix is going to look like. But some people will have a very aggressive vibration to their fix. Now, again, Chiron's trine the moon. It starts at 11 p.m. on the 11th. When we go into the 12th, we are still in it. So that means like that human effect is some of us are going to be real late at night stewing on things, going into Wednesday morning, stewing on something, trying to think of an aggressive last ditch fix, and it's not going to work for everybody. Okay. We're going to keep this going. We're going to get into the morning time. Between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, got this right here at 5:30. This is when Uranus is going to actually go through its exact square to the moon. Between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m., that is whenever the actual full moon will perfect the most exact. So I got this at 7:30 just to make it real easy. This is a full moon squaring Uranus, and I will do a full moon video completely on its own. So I'm not going to get too heavy, talking about full moons. But usually full moons are completions. This is a full moon in a fixed sign, but it is this stubborn fixed energy and the things that get revealed, the things that come to light in this vibration that lets us know we have to start making a change. And that's going to make a little bit more sense once the moon goes into Virgo, which it's not going to be until later in the evening on the 12th. But it's very much setting an awareness that people will be very stubborn at first to hear. And again, parts of this vibration feels like an ego check. For a lot of people, it's going to be a check to the ego. It's going to be a gut check. They will not anticipate it. They will be very shocked that it's happening. But this full moon in Leo squaring Uranus speaks to that. And I will also say there's something about this full moon, and I will cover this a little bit more in the actual full moon video. For a lot of people, this full moon is also going to take us back to the Aquarius full moon that we had last August, because there's a lot of similarities in the pattern. And again, I will compare those more in the full moon in Leo video. But don't be surprised if stuff from last summer starts to come back around. But we are in a very different mindset this go round compared to where we were then. There are connections. Okay. Moving along. Oh, the exact time of the full moon is going to be 7:54 a.m. Central Standard Time. After the full moon perfects, we have one more transit that's going to happen in Leo. And that is whenever the moon hits the opposition to Mercury. This is going to be felt the most exact between 12:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here's the moon, 27 degrees, just past the exact opposition. Here's Mercury at 26:55. This is the last transit before the moon goes into Virgo. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury. There is tension, there is frustration, there is something being spoken, something being communicated, some type of delivery of information, some type of transaction, something here that makes somebody aware the old way will not continue. There's something here that once it gets said or spoken or felt or experienced, so this is all still in the vibration of the full moon, just to be clear, that it is, again, a shock to the system, but this is more of a mental shock. For a lot of people, this is going to be a mental shock. I will talk about this a little bit more at the closing, because if this has to do with like medical astrology, there can be like a wave that hits that kind of it starts impacting our stomach. I'll cover more of that at the closing, just to be clear, but I want people to be very, very aware of this vibration, because it sets the stage for however we deal with the rest of the weekdays. Okay, let's move this along. We're going to get into the evening time at 7:08 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 7:30. The moon is going to go into Virgo. Now, again, there's something about that moon-Mercury opposition that once it gets said, it really starts to impact the way we're considering something, what we're thinking about, what we've been communicating. And over the next few days, while the moon is in Virgo, Mercury is going to wrap up its transit through Aquarius and move into Pisces. There's something about this part of the vibration that sets the stage of making us aware that we have to make a change And most likely the change is going to be something that we've done for a very long time, a very certain way. But we have to start making a change, but we have to make the decision to make a change. And something about after the full moon's perfected and that moon goes into Virgo, and we start wrapping up the final days of Mercury in Aquarius, and we get that start of Mercury going into Pisces, because that's going to happen while the moon is in Virgo. It is us mentally coming to terms with a transition, going over the information that allows for change to happen. There's something here that shifts our mindset about something that has been very fixed, that has gone a certain way for a long period of time. And that's going to be how the energy goes once the moon goes into Virgo. And it is this vibration that I got very stuck on, the after the full moon effect, that told me that this is where we start to, after the ego check is set in, the communication, the ideas, and the things that come through is us coming to terms that something was not correct. And we're going to have to make some adjustments. We're going to have to make some changes. Now, that's going to have physical effects on some people. And again, I want to cover that in the closing. I don't want to do that too deep on the week ahead. So let's get into the actual moon in Virgo now. Now, after the moon goes into Virgo, it's not that it's void and nothing going on. That's the main thing. We're going to go ahead and take this into the 13th. Now, the 13th is not heavy on transits. There's only one real transit that's going on, and that is whenever Jupiter hits the square to the moon between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 5:30 on February 13th. Oh, here's Jupiter, 11 degrees, 26 minutes. Here is the moon, 11 degrees, 36 minutes. So we're in this square. Jupiter's in the higher authority, the doctor, the guru, the teacher, expressing an idea, expressing an opinion, expressing a change in information. Why again am I saying a change of information? Mercury is now at 29 degrees of Aquarius. It is at the end of a sign. The idea, the information, the connection, it's either doing something for the last time, or it is starting to realize something that has been getting done a certain way for a long period of time cannot remain this way. And a lot of us are going to be very stuck in our heads whenever it comes to Thursday. Now, as that day kind of progresses, there will be things that speak to like not being able to agree, not wanting to listen, you don't want to talk about things, don't like the appearance, we don't like the taste of food, everything feels a little ick, everything sensory wise is just a little off. The potatoes are too soft, the bananas are too ripe, everything's just a little bit too much, and I don't want to deal with it. Leave me alone. As we go through Thursday, that's what a lot of the vibration feels like. If it's not in a correct order, it's impacting us wrong. And what we can find ourselves doing is being mad at inanimate objects we have no reason to be mad about. That cup of coffee didn't do crap to you, but you're mad that that cup does not taste right. That the paper was just too flimsy on the side whenever you got it from whatever barista you got it from. There's just something that's just like meh. And we're overly critical. When Jupiter hits the square to the moon, if we're overly critical all day long, Jupiter could be one of those people going, you really got your panties in a twist over all this, don't you? I'm not letting anything bother me. Are you sure about that? You want to try again? I don't believe you. You've been acting a little out of character. You've been acting like an ass. And Jupiter pushing an idea, pushing a focus onto the moon can be, again, a bit of a reality check, but it's more of like the critical analysis. For some people, it will be ideas. For other people, it will be like, hey, what are you doing? Stop acting this way. Stop taking your issues out on other people. And there's something just very, very heavily critical to how people want to behave whenever it comes to Thursday. So I want people to be aware of that. And again, the only direct transit to Thursday is Jupiter square to the moon. Okay, we're going to keep this going. We're going to get into the 14th. And this is this is the crappiest Valentine's Day that we've had in a while. I mean, last year sucked, but this year's really fucking sucks too. I don't have a better way to say it. We're not going to have a good Valentine's Day probably until like 2027. There's my honest opinion about that. It's just so crazy to me. But don't go into this day expecting like super romantic. The moon is in Virgo. Like, this is not a sign known for being romantic. Now, if analytics is your way of romance, okay, then we've got some possibilities. But if you're wanting lovey-dovey, over the top, over the moon type of vibration, even if you get it, it's like some of you are going to receive it and just analyze it down to the nth degree. And that kind of takes me into this first transit. Between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, Mars is going to hit a trine to the moon. Now, are we all getting our Valentine's Day gifts at 4:30 in the morning? No. There's a human effect to everything, but hear me out on this. Mars again is hitting its stationing point. He's slowing down. He will turn direct at 17 degrees. He's not turning direct until the 23rd. But there's something about this vibration that speaks to judgment, being very analytical, forcing someone to change an opinion, and it is not romantic at all. Now, for a lot of people, whatever starts to unfold Friday morning will take us back to whatever happened over the weekend, because this transit is reigniting the Mars-Saturn trine that was exact on Sunday. So think of the things that have happened basically since February 8th, human effect, February 8th to now, to the 14th, and there's something that needs to be analyzed. And as we get into the analytical, as we dig into the information, as we really shift our focus, it's going to make us realize, oh crap, I was wrong. Okay, then I have to prepare this way. Something has to change. Now, why am I saying that? Again, Mars is going to hit the sextile with the moon between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. At 6:07, so we're in the same time span, that is when Mercury is going to go into Pisces. So I know I got the screen at 6:30. Mercury, 0 degrees when Mercury is now in Pisces. One, Mercury is starting mutual reception with Jupiter, and that's a helpful thing. But two, now it's Mercury in its detriment, and that's a harder thing. And if you guys listen to the month ahead forecast, I did talk about this a little bit. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of heavier emphasis when it comes to medical astrology in the closing, now that this part has started. Okay. Oh, but simultaneous to Mercury going into Pisces, the moon in Mercury's sign is hitting the opposition to Saturn. It is the outside perspective. It is the shift in information. It is the arrival of someone new that lets us know the previous check, the previous frustration, the previous dynamic was either true or false. Now, some of us literally, we will be stewing all week until we get some type of information, until we get to this new level of dynamic. Mercury is an arrival for a lot of people. And the moon being in Mercury's sign, going through that opposition to Saturn, there's something about whatever has just recently been revealed over the course of the last week going into this day, that it is going to shift our perspective. It is going to shift the communication. It is going to shift the information. It is going to shift our mindset. And I need people to be prepared for that. For some people, this will be creative. Again, if the ego check was not a negative thing, if it was more of a boost in your confidence, then this is like putting things into perspective, communicating out to other people the responsibility, the dismissal, the overcoming of disruption in a whole new fashion. And that will be good. The major pro for Mercury in this moment is the fact that he's in mutual reception with Jupiter, because I said it in the month ahead forecast, 9 times out of 10, when Mercury goes into Pisces, I start getting a bunch of calls that people are having issues with their health and they're wanting me to tell them what just happened. It sucks. Okay. I hope everyone stays healthy. Let's just say that. Okay, moving along. We're going to get into the afternoon. The only transit that we have going on after the early morning stuff is going to be between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and that is whenever Uranus, 23 degrees 21 minutes, is going to go through a trine with the moon, 23 degrees 19 minutes. Now, again, we just had all of these squares to Uranus. Mercury squared Uranus, the sun squared Uranus, the full moon in Leo squared that Uranus. There was something unexpected in the vibration. And after the hit, the check to the ego, after that confirmation and information hit, it made us start to think, start to stew, start to ponder. And now that Mercury has went into Pisces, it's like Uranus does that little check-in going, hey, did you find that thing that I told you? Did you get it confirmed? Did you go talk to a third party? Did you go get another opinion? Did you do what I told you to do? Yeah. What did they tell you? You were right. I don't want to tell you you're right, but you're freaking right. I told you that for a reason. It was to help you, not to hurt you. Trying to be there for you, trying to do something for you. And there's something about Uranus in this trine, again, trines or triangles, earth to earth. I was trying to help you be more productive. I was trying to help you understand. I was trying to make you aware that something in the past was not right. It was not clear. It was not focused. Something had been going on without your knowledge. And now that you know, Mercury being newly in Pisces, now that there has been an arrival, now that you know, you can do something about it. Mercury, the ruler of our logical mind, now in Pisces, you can fix it, you can heal it, you can work on it, you can do something about it. Again, a lot of this week is putting our mindset into a place where we understand where the dynamics of change are going to happen a month from now in eclipse season. Remember that. All right. After the moon's trine with Uranus, there ain't a whole lot more to Friday. Again, happy Valentine's Day. It's not going to feel like Valentine's Day. It's kind of like Christmas all over again. It's just not, doesn't feel like a holiday, doesn't feel like anything. And so much of the vibration and so much of the energy speaks to why that is that way. Okay. We're getting into the 15th, and the first thing that's going to happen happens right after midnight, and that is whenever the moon is going to hit the conjunction to the South Node. The South Node is the body of the dragon without a head. If you do not feel well, if you don't feel right, if you feel queasy, do not ignore this. And again, I'm going to talk about the medical astrology in the closing. All right. Between 1:30 and 3:30 a.m. So I'm going to just bump this to 3:30. I'm sorry, 1:30. Here's the moon, 27 degrees, 51 minutes, starting its opposition to Neptune. If you do not feel right, please do not ignore it. But the other way that the moon and Neptune can hit it can hit in certain oppositions is something about this can be like, I know the truth. You can't pull the wool over my eyes anymore. I feel like you're lying to me. I feel like this isn't real. I feel like this doesn't work. The reason I'm so focused on I feel is whenever the moon hits the conjunction of the South Node, again, the South Node is the body without a head. There is no ego. Now, Neptune's conjunction to the North Node can fill people with ego. Again, a lot of people get very, very clouded by their beliefs. Some of us will have a moment either late on Friday or early on Saturday based off of this transit. and see someone so conflated by their beliefs that it just rubs us the wrong way. We're like, oh, I don't need to be around you anymore. I didn't realize you were this kind of crazy. I didn't realize that you were this kind of person. Wow. Okay. And it kind of shifts our judgment. That'll be the negative. For other people, you're going to be like, that person is so inspired. They're so inspiring. I can't even believe that they can think the way that they do. I didn't realize that people can talk this way, believe this way, think this way, and we can become enamored and we can want to know more. Again, by transit, this energy is the most exact in the early morning hours, overnight hours from Friday into Saturday. But the human effect is for some people, this can be Friday. For other people, it's going to manifest on Saturday. Okay. Oh, now after this part is over, the moon's going to go void until it goes into Libra. The moon will arrive in Libra at 5:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 6:30. Now we're going to talk about just the moon in Libra. The moon is now in Venus' sign. Venus, after these next few days, will also start to slow down. Venus is in her detriment, but there's a trifecta energy between Venus being in Mars' sign, Mars in the moon sign, but the moon is in Venus' sign. So again, we have this trifecta: Venus, moon, Mars. They're all in this triplicity of coexistence, but they're also all in cardinal signs. And that's instigative energy. That's right. If you are a cardinal sign, if your primary energy is Capricorn, Aries, Libra, or Cancer, I call you all instigators and shit starters. But that's because the cardinal signs are the starts of new seasons. Mercury, the ruler of our logical brain, is now in a mutable sign. It is now in a sign of change. And now we have these other vibrations that speak to something that must be instigated. And the instigation is going to be one person coming to a turnaround point. And it's like one person says, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to leave. I don't want to change. I don't. That's Mars's energy. Venus is like, but as soon as you change your mind, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take them out. I'm going to blow the top off. I'm going to react. There's something about once the moon goes into Libra, and again, this is going to be all day on Saturday. It's going to be Sunday. It's even going to take us into Monday. It's going to take us into the next week. There's something about the moon in Libra that feels very instigative. Now, it's not going to instigate all at one moment. And I want to be clear about that. But there is something about it that speaks to an instigation that will lead to turnaround. So again, another part of the vibration that speaks to, we are going to have to start making decisions this week to make a change. But it's not going to be all of us making decisions at once. We're not making a slew of some people will be, but not everybody's going to be making a slew of like, okay, we're going to change all 10 of these things. It's not going to go that way. The human effect is it's going to hit people at different times. There is something about the weekend that once certain information is understood, once the moon leaves Virgo and goes into Libra, there's something that initiates. Next weekend has an initiative energy. It's not romantic. It's nothing like that. For some of you, it might be. Let's be clear, fair. We're talking about Venus stuff. We're talking about the moon in Libra. It could be. But this also has like a bubbling feeling of shifting the balance because the scales have not been balanced. The scales have not been balanced for a while. And I don't believe we're going to feel rebalanced in the scales for a while. I feel like parts of the spring will tip them back up, like between this part of February going into the middle part of April. It'll tip it back up a little bit, but it will not completely level everything back out. And I don't think that's going to happen until later this year. But there's something instigative here that we have to do something. We have to make the decision. We have to communicate that we're going to do something to turn something around. But there's going to be parts of the vibration that Some people are ready to go, and other people are like, no, I don't wanna. That won't last, but be prepared for that. Okay. So let's just now focus on the transits. Once the moon goes into Libra, the only direct transit to Saturday is whenever the moon goes through this trine with Pluto. So this is actually going to go the most exact between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we'll bump this to 10:30. Here's the moon, 2 degrees, 22 minutes. Here is Pluto, 2 degrees, 30 minutes. Now, the one thing I will say about Pluto is he's in a whole different area of the sky that he's never been before. So a lot of the frustrations that we've been having with certain people that can be voiced here are, a lot of them are going to be new. Again, the moon is in this instigative sign. So we can learn about something that has been going on for a while. We can learn about something that somebody's being very, very stubborn about. But we can also realize that we don't necessarily agree with this vibration. We don't agree with this belief system. We don't agree. And we can start maneuvering into what can be change. I don't feel like change is initial right here, but we can have somebody say something that again kind of sparks more of that instigation. It's like going into the living room and having your significant other say the one stupid thing that gets under your skin, and it can set the mood a little bit for the day. And I want people to be prepared for that, given that the moon is hitting that trine to Pluto. Again, that's hitting the most exact between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. After the moon's trine to Pluto, we don't have anything going out directly until the evening time. And that's going to be between 7:30 and 9:30. So I got the screen now, February 15th, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here's the moon, 7 degrees, 22 minutes, hitting its opposition to Venus. The moon is in Venus' sign, and Venus wants to take an action. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. I'm just waiting on the green light. I'm ready to take an action. I'm just waiting for somebody to say I can do it. I'm just waiting for this thing. I'm just waiting. Venus is starting to hit her stewing point. Now, her energy will continue to move until she gets about to 10 degrees. And by the end of the month, that's where she'll be, because that's where she's going to turn retrograde on March 1st. But a lot of Venus's energy, to me, feels like a reaction to Mars turning direct. So the key points of energy that we will be focused on throughout the rest of the month after this week is going to be what triggers Mars to go direct. What is that change? Venus feels like she's waiting to respond, to react, to move. She's just waiting on a green light. A lot of us can be talking with our best friend, talking with our girlfriend, talking with people at the store, going, yeah, I'm just waiting for the approval. I'm just waiting for the money to come in. I'm just waiting for this to happen. And some of us might even get confirmation that something will happen. It just isn't happening immediately. It's going to take a few more weeks, a few more days. But a lot of this speaks to, I want to take an action. I'm just not ready to do it yet. We haven't lined everything up. It's a confidence energy. It feels really strong. I feel like a lot of people are going to go into this day and they're going to have a really good day, exciting day, want to do some things that are a little bit more out of the box because they need to get some of their energy out. But a lot of the reason they need to get the energy out is because I want to do something that I can't do yet. Okay. Oh, that happens in the evening time, most exact between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to get into Sunday. Sunday's not super heavy. Between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., so I got the screen February 16th at 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, Jupiter is going to hit a trine to the moon. Now, as we move forward going into next week, a lot of the vibration is going to speak to Jupiter because so much stuff is going to be in Pisces. Neptune is still in Pisces, the North Node now in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces. Next week, the Sun will also be in Pisces. So that'll be 5 placements in Jupiter's sign. and Jupiter will be newly direct in Gemini. So much of the vibration speaks to getting an idea or expressing an opinion of what we're going to start doing, of a change being implemented. Now, this does not have to be the exact change that we've talked about throughout the entire week. It can be something completely separate and completely different. But Jupiter is in a mutable sign. He's in his detriment. So the changes that we need to make are to pull us out of frustration, or to pull us out of detriment, or to make something feel, to make it feel better, to rebuild our confidence. Now, some of this can be an expression that now that I've learned something, Jupiter newly direct, now that I know this, now that I've learned something, this is how I want to progress from here. I'm just trying to figure out the dynamics of how to make that work. And that's not a negative. Jupiter is the doctor, the guru, the teacher. Some of us are giving guidance to someone else, letting them know how they can take an initiative, how they can make something happen. For others, we are going to have like the expressions of certain people letting us know based off their beliefs, like this is how it's going to go from here. Not a heavy energy. Again, felt the most exact between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., but the human effect is it's going to happen over brunch, happen over coffee, not a huge thing. The other thing that's going to happen on Sunday is way less intense compared to the earlier parts of the week, is between 3:30 and 5:30. So I got this now, February 16th at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Mars in retrograde, so moving in one direction, is now going to hit the square to the moon. Now, Mars is in the moon sign. I am so sorry. Excuse me. Mars is in the moon sign. So whenever it comes to this vibration, again, I'm talking about the instigative. I'm talking about this level of internal reaction to something whenever Mars is in that square to the moon. But again, it's like Mars is stewing, and it's the expression of, I'm not ready yet. I need something else to happen. I need to know something else. I need to confirm something else. And this is going to take a few days. Mars does not turn direct until February 23rd. So it's very clear that whatever is necessary for him to understand, whatever secrets need to come to the surface for him to get that understood, whatever it is, that other person, whoever Mars is in that moment for your life, it's just you're seeing someone that like, I don't know, I know I'm not ready, I want to take an action, I'm just so mad, I just need to be mad for a minute. And the moon's like, okay, well, you sit there and be mad. I understand that you need to be mad. I understand that you need to process before we can move forward. Take a few days. This kind of reminds me of my best friend in high school, like had a major breakup at one point, and we both had our major breakups the same summer. It was a very Venus retrograde summer, by the way. And during that retrograde, it was like both of us were single at the same time. And he's like, you get 1 week to be sad. 1 week to be sad, and then we're over it. And then we're going to go do ratchet stuff. We didn't say ratchet back then, but still, like, we're going to go do ratchet stuff. We're going to go on adventures. We're going to go make some messes. We're going to go break some things. But you get 1 week to be sad. This kind of feels like that. I'll give you a few days to be mad. I'll give you a few days to figure it out. I'll give you a few days to think about it. But you're going to have to make a decision. The moon is going in one direction. Mars is stationing. It's not moving in another direction. He's stewing. He's stationing. So again, there's something we're not ready to do. We're spinning. We need more time to think about. And it's expressing that to the moon. Some of us are going to be the moon person here. Some of us are going to be the Mars person. Again, that moon person going, you get 1 week. You get 1 week to be sad. And then we're going to do something else. Okay. Oh, let's talk about that medical astrology. When it comes to Mercury going into Pisces, that is not easy. And I said this in the month ahead. Every time Mercury goes into Pisces, I suddenly get phone calls of people having a physical reaction to the energy. And it can be an appendix burst. It can be something actually happening to them in an accident, but it's like ER, ER, ER. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I know that I'm going to get those phone calls, whether it's clients, family, whatever. I know I'm going to get them. It always happens. The blessing to this time is the fact that when Mercury goes into Pisces, Jupiter is again in Mercury sign. It's in Gemini. Now, this will not be like the wintertime when Mercury went into Sag and Jupiter was retrograde. Jupiter's direct now. There's something about Mercury's energy that speaks to the arrival and the flooding of senses, the flooding of information, the flooding of an awareness, that as soon as that awareness starts to set in, it's like, again, I don't immediately know how to react to this. It's just too much too fast. And there's a lot of people that once certain things happen, they need to be able to sit and stew on it. After the ego checks of the beginning of this week happen, they need the chance to sit and stew. They need the time to be mad. And sometimes people just need to be mad to be mad. Some people need to actually go out and do something to get their anger out of their system. I'm a fan of that, but not everybody's going to do that. But something about this vibration very much speaks to there's something that once it's fully shed into light, once it fully comes into focus, it's going to have an impact. For some people, that impact will be physical. And that's why I said I want to talk about the medical astrology at the end. Mars is in his fall, Jupiter in its detriment, Uranus in its fall, Venus in her detriment, Mercury going into his detriment, the sun in its detriment. Please understand that so much of this energy can have such a huge impact that the only way that some people will have their egos checked is if the universe humbles them by punching them in the gut a little bit. Now, how that manifests in real life is going to be different for everybody. I understand that. I am warning of that. So that way, if you have these sudden things that impact you or impact the people around you, and it doesn't make sense, that is because they are literally having an energetic reaction to the transits, to this energy, and it's manifesting physically. What I've seen the most whenever Mercury goes into Pisces is suddenly like appendix burst things, something very much swelling or something in the stomach, something tied to the digestive system, slips and falls, especially whenever it comes to Mercury and Pisces, like there's something slippery. Mercury rules anything on your body that has duality. It's at least the primary ruler, it's the co-ruler. There can be something that starts to like impact the swelling of feet and hands in whole different ways. And again, if you start to see those little things, take an immediate action in regards to, okay, grandma's feet are swelling, no more Pepsi for you. Okay, had to have these conversations before whenever my grandma was still alive. Pull the soda, here's some water, here's something else, here's some juice, here's some milk. You need hydration, we don't need this. And then make your phone calls. Don't do the worst case reaction if that's not necessary, but do take notice. And it is a big part of this week that also speaks to the physical reactions and us being aware that we need to react to something. Some people will have an actual event, the paperwork being filed, being served with certain things, getting phone calls, different kinds of communication that, again, checks that ego, brings something into light, brings something into focus, whether that was the weekend leading into this actual week or if it is this actual week. The human effect is different for everybody. But a lot of this week speaks to either a boost in confidence for some. That full moon in Leo can boost some confidence for a lot of people. But for other people, it is going to be an ego check. And the thing about whenever you hold your anger in, it manifests in the body. People don't like to believe me until it actually hits them. When you hold your anger in, it manifests in the body. When Mars hits that 17-degree point and he starts stewing, a lot of people are going to be doing things to hold their anger in. Whenever we go through the rest of this month, the more someone holds something in, the more they can cause a vibration to manifest. Do the right things to get your aggression out without taking it out on other people. Now, if you need to put someone in their place, that's a very different conversation. I am talking about like go for a walk, go to the gym, find a punching bag, find something that you can throw, take a bunch of rocks or something to the pond and toss rocks for a while. Do something to get it out of your system without taking it out on other people. Very, very necessary energy that needs to be understood. Some people are going to want to take immediate actions to whatever gets revealed this week, and that's not going to be an option. Something has to happen. Something has to be understood. Something has to be analyzed and brought to light before an action can come through. And I don't feel like we get to react to a lot of things until we get to that last few days of February going into March. Right now is not the time to react. Right now is the time to understand and expect information, expect communication, expect things to come to light. So I want to be clear about that. I'm excited for this week. I'm all about this week, but I'm a Scorpio rising. So the full moon in my 10th house feels like really, really good. And one of the things that I get to reveal going into this last part of the closing is I am now confirmed for the Spirit Fair in Tulsa. So this is going to be local for me in Tulsa, Oklahoma on February 22nd. Now that Spirit Fair is going to be the entire weekend. It is the 22nd and the 23rd. I will only be present on Saturday, February 22nd. Some of that information is going to be, it's already been posted on the website, and I will start posting it actually on the Facebook page later this week. So one event has been confirmed. I am wrapping up the information on another one that's going to be in March. Aside from that, I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for the support. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.